So if you check the notes section in contents, you'll see something called the Flowchart Cookbook. This is just a general outline of the various flow control structures. What does flow control mean? Well, this one doesn't deal with having a start thing up at the top or having an input-output box, you know, a quadrilateral or whatever. All it shows you are the if statements and while loops. And if it's a while loop, you can do the same thing with a for loop. So here's the simplest form of if. If this is true, do something. This one doesn't have any else's. It just has an if on one side. Excuse me. It has a body of the if statement, just like you would indent it. And if that's not true, nothing happens. It's like you're walking past a house, and if the person at the door likes you, you get to go in the house. Otherwise, you just skip it. Here's an if-else. This is like you're walking down the street, and the street splits two ways, and you get to pick. You're Robert Frost, and you pick the road less traveled by. Whatever. So, if this condition is true, you do the yes block. The code executes the yes block. That's all indented. Else, the code does the other stuff. Now, I put the word else here rather than no, because everybody wants, I mean, not everybody, but a lot of students want to see the word else on their flowchart, and they think that it ought to go in another diamond. No, it's just the no side of things, as opposed to the yes side of things. But if you want, if you're doing an else in your code, you can put an else rather than no in your flowchart, just to remind you. And here's an if, elif, else. Other languages call this else if. If this condition is true, do something. If it's not, come back down here and do another if. If this condition is true, do something. If that one's not true either, then we do a third thing. So again, we have the word else there to represent that. Or if you want to represent it like this, you can. If you like a straight line, sure. Same thing. Absolutely the same thing, except the arrow, the block's in a slightly different place. Instead of being there, it's underneath the elif.
You're good with either way?
Totally good.
Okay.
I don't really care if you draw them from the top up as long as the arrows are going the right way. Just make it make sense. These are supposed to be tools that help you program. So I'm not ordinarily picky about which way the blocks are as long as the lines hook them up, but it needs to make sense to you. And then there's the while loop. We may have brushed upon this a couple of times, but we're going to talk about it more. Check out an if up here. If I could get both. There's the if. If this is true, do something. Else, do nothing. While works like this. If this is true, do something, and then come back up and check the condition again. And if it's still true, do something else. If it's still true, do something else. Finally, when this condition becomes false, it can fall out. Then we're done with it. So in this case, the only way for the code to escape the while loop and to stop executing the while loop is if this condition ever becomes false. Now, if this condition is false to begin with, then it just falls straight through, and it never does any of this stuff over here. Just like our if statement. If this wasn't true, then it doesn't go over here and do that. Same with a while. A while statement is just like an if statement, except it runs back up and checks it again after it's done with the body of the code. And if it's true, then it repeats it. There's a way to escape a while loop with what's known as a break statement. The break statement will cause the code to terminate the while loop. I don't think we're going to use that today.
Do while loops ever just stay constantly going?
Yeah, that's called an infinite loop.
And the
If-
system Does it shut down?
It's not a good thing. If you ever turn off the computer, it'll shut it
Yeah.
down. Or if you click the close box, it will. But nothing ever terminates it otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah. So either this thing needs to be able to turn false at some point because you're changing something, or there needs to be some kind of break statement that'll escape it. I'm mentioning the word break now because we'll be using it later. So let's play with an if. Excuse me, a while. So file new. We're going to do a Valentine's Day program, just to depress those of us without Valentines. So here we go. We're going to declare a variable. I'm just going to call it choice. And I'm going to initialize it to yes, not us, to yes. And then we're going to write a loop that says while choice is equal to yes. You don't need the parentheses. I always make that mistake. It's not a mistake. It's just unnecessary in this language, unlike some other ones. Then we're going to put an if statement in here. We're going to ask the user if they like chocolate. Or print, do you like chocolate? 1 equals yes, 2 equals no. Then we need an input. Chocolate, chalk, C-H-O-C, is equal to input. I'm not going to even convert it to a number. The reason I'm not going to convert it to a number, I'm going to convert it to a number. Chalk is equal to int chalk. There we go. Just to be consistent. I don't want somebody to get frustrated that we're doing something different than we did before. So if chalk is equal to 1, they said they like chocolate. And again, I put my parentheses out of habit. Take them out. Print. Yay. Eat the chocolate. Else, colon, print, drats. Give the chocolate away. Now we're going to ask one more question. If they wish to continue, is it still Valentine's Day? Is it still Val Day? Yes, no. And then we're going to say choice is equal to input. Now, since they're typing in a word, there's no reason to convert it to an int or a float. And then we're just going to print a done message at the bottom. So this is an example of a while loop. It's possible I have syntax errors, but the idea is there. Let me save it. I'm just going to call it VAL, val. Run it. Choice is not defined. I made a mistake. What's my mistake here between these two lines? Anybody see it? I capitalized it here, exactly, but I didn't capitalize it here. It has to be the same exact thing. So I'm going to correct the spelling of my variable. If you made yours while choice all in caps, fix the choice to be lowercase.
Oh, thank you.
Bless you.
What do you want us to say this at?
I called it VAL, Val, for Valentine's Day. apparently we're being inundated with chocolate, so we needed to write a program to tell us when to give it away. Okay, the program works on my screen. I'll walk around and make sure it works on yours. Go ahead and run it. Say you like chocolate. Say it's still Valentine's Day. Then tell it you don't like chocolate. And then say it's no longer Valentine's Day. And you'll see the looping in action.
This is going to be our in class.
Yeah. Well, actually, the in-class is going to be a guessing game. We're kind of building up to it. Oh, and by the way, if you got more than one grade email, my apologies. I was trying to set a filter so that, you know, if you had below a C or whatever, then you'd get one email, and if you had above a C, you'd get another. And some people got multiple emails, so I apologize for that. Okay. Some people are still typing, but I'm going to go ahead and describe what the next program is going to do. We're going to write a guessing game where the computer thinks of a number between 1 and 100. Then we have to start guessing it. If we ever get it right, it exits a while loop and tells us we're done. Otherwise, it's very rude. It tells us wrong, and we have to guess again. So to get that to work, it's going to be structured very, very similar to this. Well, don't save it to the Python directory. Save it to your desktop or something. Okay, you put a quote here rather than here. So take that quote out and move it down there. Colon. Need a colon at the end. When you have an it, no. Oh, something's going on here. This says you have if in front of that word print. And now the indentation is going to be messed up. It's going to yellow here. So go ahead and try to indent that print all the way over here. See if that fixes it. I had one more. So I'll be lined up.
Get an olive.
Need it in the parentheses there. Right. Get there. Right. So let's say yes we do. Now let's type in yes. It has to be in caps. And let's say no, we don't like chocolate. Now it's no longer Valentine's Day, so we type no. And we're good. All right. Anybody else got typos? So the way we want the program to work is we want it to pick our secret number, initialize a guess to 0 or something, and secret's going to be between 1 and 100. Forget that writing. The reason we have to initialize guess is because we need something to while on. Just like we whiled on choice here. So we had to define choice above the while loop. And the choice needs to be something that'll cause it to go into the while loop. Because if the choice was set to something that caused the while loop to be false, it would skip the entire thing. So we have to set our guess equal to something that's not matching the secret number. And then we can have a while loop. While secret is not guess, then we're going to come over here, we're going to ask them, what's your guess? We're going to have an if statement of some kind. If they got it right, we're going to go, yay. If not, we're going to tell them bummer. And then it's going to go back up here, like that. That's all the yes side. That's everything that's indented under the word while, from here to here. And if the while loop is done, then it's going to go to the bottom. And maybe we'll print, you know, Congratulations, or something like that. That's what our guessing game's going to do. So the computer's going to say, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. What is it? We'll take a guess. If it's not right, it'll tell us and loop to make us continue doing it. Okay, so new file. Call this one guess. And this one's awesome enough that we're actually going to put our name and date on it. Okay, my definition of awesome may be different than yours, but let's go with it. I'm going to save as and call it guess.py. Okay. We need to get a secret number. Now, making a random number takes a couple of steps that I'm going to skip for now. I'm just going to pretend that the secret number is 52. We'll change that later. And the guess is going to be something that's not within our range. We really want this to be between 1 and 100. And we will randomly assign it. I think we did a random number thing already. If not, we will now. And so we're going to just set guess equal to something that's not equal to the secret so that the while loop will work. While guess is not equal to secret, colon, we need to print a message. Print, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. Print, make a guess. So guess is equal to input, and then let's convert it to an int. Why not float? Because if it's thinking of a number between 1 and 100 and the number is 3.14159, that'd really be kind of a jerky game. So we're going to force it to be whole numbers. Guess is equal to int guess. Now we check. If, no parentheses, guess is equal to secret, print, yay. You got it, you psychic, you. You don't have to put the sarcastic messages. Else, let's print drats. Try again. Then stop indenting and we'll just say game over. Alright, I know what the secret number is, but I'm going to pretend I don't. 1, 10, 100, 52. Awesome. Game over. Okay, seems to be working. It's not really very fun yet. So we're going to modify it now so it'll tell you whether you got higher or lower. So there's more than one way to do that. We could use that elif, which we haven't really talked about. I'm going to delete that else and that print. And just do if guess is less than secret, colon, print, try again, higher this time. Because the secret number is more than our guess, so we want them to try higher. And then if guess is greater than secret, colon, print, try again, lower this time. You might even want to spell this correctly, unlike me. Here we go. All right, once you get that typed in, let's go ahead and run it. Okay, obviously it's 52 still. 25, try again, higher this time. 70, try again, lower this time. 52, on the spot. Alrighty. Two more things that I think would make it interesting. One is if it kept track of how many guesses it took you, so that it could make fun of you if you took over 10. I'm kidding, but you know, it'd be nice if it said it took you 5 guesses or whatever. And if this number was random. I think that's just this real problem with this code. We want it to be a random number. So, we're going to add some statements up here at the top. From random, import randint, random int. That brings in a function called random int, which we will use to make our number. So we just added this line. You don't have to put this comment. And where we pick secret, we no longer want secret to be 52. We're going to change that line quite a bit. It's going to say secret is equal to random int, a number between 1 and 100. And so this line has been considerably changed. It's not defined within Python. It's a module. Yeah, it's a library. That's what the import does. So you could think of it as being part of the Python distribution, but it's not. It's not a keyword like print. It's not one of the purple words. Alrighty, now this ought to be more fun. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. 50. Your number's going to be different. Try again. 75. 87. All right. 79 was my secret number. Once you get this working, give some thought to how you would put a counter in there. so it could tell you how many turns it took. How could you put a counter in this thing so that by the time we got down here to print game over, we could also print the number of turns? So if you could do that on your own, go for it. I'll do it in a minute. Alrighty. So in order to get this to work, to keep track of the number of guesses, I need a variable that keeps track of that. Now, the way my brain works, I would call it guesses. However, I hate to have two variables that look the same. You know, guess and then guesses. So I'm going to call it something completely different. You used I would work. I think I'll just call this turns. How many turns have we taken? Turns is equal to 0. Each time they type in a guess, we're going to increment that variable. So underneath the guess is equal to int guess, do turns plus equals 1. Or you could do turns equals turn plus 1. Either one works. And then lastly, down here where we say game over, let's print how many guesses it took. Guesses taken, colon, comma, turns. So, clarify, I added that line. You never need to add these little dinky comments. I added that line, and I changed this line. I wonder if it'll work.
See if I can do this.
If you ever get something to work on the very first time you type it in, you know, give yourself a toast, because it's rare. So 50, lower, 25, 15, 14, whatever. I'm never going to get it right because I wasn't paying attention. Okay, 37, 45. All right, it took me 9 guesses. Now, there's a mathematical formula that would tell you the maximum number of guesses this should conceivably take. And it's log 2 parentheses the range of the numbers, like 100. So I'm just going to go to Google. Google's my favorite calculator. Log 2 parentheses 100 into parentheses, and I'm going to round that up, and so it should at most take 7 guesses. If it takes more than 7 guesses, then you weren't playing exactly, you know. You weren't exactly cutting it in half each time, 50, 25, 37, or whatever. So notice this. If we change that 100 to 1,000, it only takes a maximum of 10 guesses to get it right. So even though the range of numbers is far larger, it's 10 times what it was, it would only take 3 more guesses at a max in order to pin it down exactly if you had a perfect strategy. Okay, anything else we want to do with this? I'd want to put in a secret back door where if I guess -1, it would cheat and tell me the answer. So I'm going to tack on one final if statement way down here. If guess equals -1, colon. That's our cheat code. Print. Hint. The secret number is, end quote, comma, secret. So let's say I have attention deficit and I just can't stand to type in more than one answer. I type in 10, didn't work, so I type in -1. It tells me the secret number is 86. I type 86. Now the -1 did count as a guess. And the way you did it back there was you incremented it based on whether it was a wrong answer or not. That's a pretty cool idea. You don't have to make this change, but you could conceivably move this turns plus equals 1 down to here for the wrong guesses only, or for the wrong guess plus the right guess, but not count, you know, the hint code. Not going to do that. Okay, so that's looping. Looping in a nutshell. We have some time left, so we are going to flowchart this because flowcharting is the most fun we can possibly have. We could also write this as pseudocode. Usually we should do these things backwards. You should always do the pseudocode or the flowchart first before the program. But I was impatient to get us into the program. Go ahead and crank up Lucidchart. Start a new chart. Now I'm going to kind of have to do this from memory because I can't get it all on the screen at the same time, but I'll just kind of push that over there as my cheat sheet. Alright, all of our flowcharts start with a start. So I'm just going to drag the oval over there and put start in it. And I'm going to try to make my shapes as small as possible to fit them all on the screen at the same time. You absolutely do not need to do that. Alrighty, we have some initializations here. We need to initialize the secret number, and then we need to set both of these to 0. Now, I don't mind mixing up more than one statement in a single block if it's almost the same identical action. And in this case, setting the guess to 0 and the turns to 0 are just about the same conceptually, so I'm going to put those in one block. But let's handle this secret number first. I need a rectangle because it's kind of a math kind of thing. And I'm going to just say secret equals random number between 1 and 100. Why did I not put the code for it? Because you could give this flowchart to a Java or a C programmer, and they would know how to generate the random number, and they wouldn't want to see your Python code. Again, in the interests of getting as much on the screen as possible, you don't have to do this. There we go. Alrighty, what's next? These two things that we initialize, guess and turns. So that's going to be in another rectangle. The only time you put two things in the same shape is if they are very, very similar operations. Guess is equal to 0, and then Control Enter, turns is equal to 0. Why would we not put secret is equal to in the same thing? Because this is a fundamentally different operation. This might be a function call. Who knows how that secret number is generated? It's not nearly as simple as just setting it equal to 0. Alrighty, now we have a while loop. So I need a diamond, just like we use for an if statement. Now a lot of books will show you using a diamond without actually putting the word if or while in it, but I always do, just because it's really important information for the programmer. So while guess not equals secret, and you can use that Control Enter trick to try to tab it out in some nice way. Not tab it out, but space it out. Okay, everything else we do except for that final print statement is all going to be off to the right. Now you don't have to make your yes section of your while loops go off to the right, but since we indent off to the right, that's why I do it that way. So the first thing it does is it asks for a number between 1 and 100. I'm not going to put both of those print statements, but I'm going to put one of those. Why not both? Just to so print or output, pick a num between 1 and 100. And every time you move things around, the lines start to get crazy. Alright, then we input guess. We don't need to show the conversion step. Input guess. If you wanted to put the conversion step, that would not be strictly wrong, but like I said, some languages are different than others, and some languages you don't have to. We don't need to tell the other programmer more than they need to know. Just like if you're drawing a map for somebody, you don't need to put every tree. Alright, then we have this turns plus equals 1. That's just pure math, so it's going to go in a rectangle. Turns plus equals 1. You could write that in English and say increment turns, or you could write the whole equation, turns equals turn plus 1. Any of that would be fine. Now we have this three-way if statement down here. This is going to be kind of the most annoying thing to flowchart. So I'm going to have to scroll down to make room for 3 if statements. I don't want to go too fast. Are we all kind of caught up to this point, or do we have people who are still like stuck at that one or whatever? Okay, I'll slow down. What does an if statement look like, though? We've done them already, haven't we? Pretend we have. Somebody say yes. Okay, the if statement, if we look back on our cheat sheet over here, is just a diamond block like that. So, after we increment the turns, we're going to need an if statement that says if guess is equal to secret, print yay. Honestly, we could skip that if statement because we're going to say game over down underneath, but I'm going to make it match our code. So if guess equals secret, we want to go off to the side and print the success message. Then we need that to loop back. Not loop, that's the wrong term. You only loop for whiles. But it needs to rejoin. So I'm just going to use a circle. I'm going to take the A out of the circle. There's no need for that. And that way, this can go back to it, and this can go back to it. Is that strictly necessary? No, we could just make them join on the next if statement. But all right, I'm going to need another one of those, which is if guess is less than secret, print something. Here's about the point where I'd be tempted to copy and paste. You know, I could click and then shift click on those two things, copy, and then come down here and paste them. But instead, I'll draw them. If guess is less than secret, then come over here and print guess higher. That's a totally wrong shape. That's not an if statement. What's an if statement?
Triangle.
Yeah, it's a diamond. So I'm going to right click on it and do change shape and pick the correct one. That was my mistake. If your line starts getting too squirrely like this one did, you can always delete it and then draw it again. To delete it, you just select the line and hit the delete key. Or the backspace key would probably do it too. Alright, now they need to join back up. So I'm going to put another circle underneath everything. But if I didn't want to do that, I'm going to show you how you could not bother with the circle. I think the circles are a good idea, but you could just draw one more if statement here. Have this one go back to that one, like that. And also have this one go down like, you know, a straight line down. That would be acceptable. But I want to make this as most correct as possible. So I am going to remove that and put a circle there. Now we need one more if. I'm going to skip adding that if for now because I want to wander around and see how y'all are doing. But on your bottom circle, after that guess greater than secret, I do want y'all to add it, and then I want y'all to draw a line coming back up to the while, like that. Just remember that you need to have one more decision, one more if in there than I have. It's not correct until you add that, but I'm in a hurry to wander around and see how y'all are doing. Then I want to print, so I'm going to draw a line from the no side of the while. I want to print how many turns. Print turns, and then I want to put a stop. So I'm just going to put another oval. If I wasn't trying to get this all on one page, which is pretty much impossible, I would make this while line go straight down rather than jut off to the left. All right, guys. Let me wander around, see how y'all are doing. So go to your flowchart. You might save it to give it a good name. Call it guessing game. Then do a file. Oh, one thing I wanted to show y'all is if you don't like straight lines and you want curvy lines, you can do that. Select a line and come up here, and next to the pencil there's this thing that looks like an angle line. You can change it to draw a curve. Do you have to do that? Nah. Or if you want to change them all at once, there's these themes up here. Change theme, where you can pick a pretty color, and there. Now it's all swoopy and stuff. Do I really like it that swoopy? Probably not, but you could do that. I'm going to undo that, Control Z. So now I'm ready to download it. File, download as PDF or PNG. Both are good. And then that's the file I'm going to upload.